Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Octant community meeting here on, this is the 14th of January in 2020. Welcome, everyone, and we got an agenda doc that I'll share here, and I'm going to hand it over to Wayne. There we go.
Great, thanks. Yeah, hey everyone. Thanks for attending our first community meeting of the year. So I'm just going to go through this agenda. If you have any questions as I'm going through it, you can type it into the HackMD or just ask in the chat. And I may answer them in line, or I may wait until I'm done, but probably just answer them in line. And then, yeah, so first off, the O.10 release is coming very shortly. We were finishing up some things before a lot of us went on a holiday break, and we are kind of putting the final touches on some of those, and we will be, we will be releasing very soon, which is what I said last time. But this time I really mean it. Yeah, the list of features can be found by the easiest way to see kind of what's in there at a quick glance is to go to our GitHub, and you can look at the unreleased changelogs. There's an unreleased folder under changelogs, and that'll give you a quick brief of everything that's going to be in O.10. There are a couple outstanding things that you probably won't see there yet. One of them being the terminal demo that I'm about to do now. And there's a couple fixes that will be in place before we do the O.10 release, mostly around CRDs and some minor touch-ups for some of the plugin stuff. So that is, that's where the O.10 release is. The exact date to be determined, but very, very soon. I mean, within, Sam and I are working on PR reviews and final touches now. So if it's something that we can get here probably Monday, I hope. But yeah, so there's also a blog post being crafted that'll kind of walk over all of the features and what's coming up in this release. So expect that very soon. I'll save the demo for the end. I'll go ahead and just go to plugins. So the after O.10 is released, we're going to be taking a good look at plugins. We have oh, thanks for fixing my misspelling of January. We have gotten some good feedback from plugin authors, and we are going to be addressing some of the API consistency issues with plugins. We're going to move towards removing the hard dependency on our internal Octant repo for plugin authors. So when you're creating a plugin, you will not have to check out the entire, all of Octant in the world to do it. I apologize, one sec. Nope. Okay, she's done now. Yeah, so you won't have to do that. And what that does is it also removes the conflict of, currently there's a conflict if you're using like client Go of a different Kubernetes version or something like that for your plugin, different than the one that Octant is using or happens to be using in master or wherever you're developing your plugin. It can create a lot of issues when you're trying to do your vendor stuff. So it'll also allow people to do better unit testing and functional testing of their plugin, because there won't be kind of these hidden corners where our abstractions leak and you find yourself not able to provide a fake or a mock for some piece of Octant that you are using in your plugin. So all of that ties into API consistency, but that's something you can expect coming soon. And then also the details on this aren't 100%. We're going to be kind of fleshing these out over this week, but we're going to be adding some form of a more free form web component for plugins, where you'll be able to kind of provide custom JavaScript and HTML. We'll inject those into the view, and then your component will render using the data sent from the plugin. Where there's a prototype of this that was kind of mocked up quickly, but we still need to make sure that we define good, clean interfaces for it, and make sure that we're doing it correctly. But that is something that I know a lot of people have been asking for as well, just because they want to do stuff that's maybe outside of what Clarity has to offer, or they have some type of custom view or graphing or complex tree structure that they want to represent within their plugin. And so we're kind of opening it up so that you could just use any JavaScript library to kind of render your plugins out. The other thing is that this meeting that you're at right now is going to change. Where currently we do it monthly. We're moving to a weekly cadence, and it will be on Wednesdays. So it'll be I believe it'll be the same time slot, but just moved to weekly on Wednesdays. The reason we're doing this is so that we can kind of just tighten up the feedback loop. Whenever we do interact with the community and we have these meetings, we're always getting good feedback, and especially around plugins and things that are impacting folks who are trying to develop actively against Octant. So I want to tighten that loop up so that way we can kind of address those things as you're experiencing them, instead of having to wait a whole month to hear that we, are addressing something. So, and also it allows us to kind of, when we do releases, the feedback loop from, hey, we cut a release, even if we do it on a Thursday, we know that within 6 days, we're going to be having another meeting where people can kind of come and give us feedback on the latest release. So with that said, if Sam or Jonas don't have anything to add, I think Sam might have some stuff on actions, but I'm not sure. If no one has anything, I'll move to the quick demo of the terminal.
Yeah, I have 2 items that wasn't written down here, but I can address them fairly quickly. So the first one is that before we all went on holiday break, we took all the to-dos in the code base and made a whole bunch of GitHub issues for them. And some were tagged with just good first-timers. So if anyone here on this call is super interested in contributing to Octant and just want some easy bug fixes, or just want to see what are some of the current issues, feel free to take a look. And if you'd like to get some context into how the sausage is made with Octant, feel free to ping Wayne or myself, and we can also help work through setting up a dev environment if needed. And the second one is I'm doing some refactor on the port forwarding code. And currently right now it's a little special in the sense that the front end is holding state of port forwards, but to the end user, it doesn't really mean too much. It'll still show up exactly the same. It'll just expose an alerter. So then we actually can get user notifications of what's happening in port forward that's not tied to an Angular component. So hopefully that'll also be bundled into the next release as well. And that's it.
Awesome. Thanks, Sam.
All right, I'll stop sharing so you can dig into the demo.
Yeah. So let's see. Let me get this pulled up here. And do that. I'll just begin now, since people probably ask. And share. Okay. All right. I should be sharing you should see Octant.
Yep.
Okay.
Can you zoom in a bit?
More in beginning.
Yes. A little more.
More. Okay. All right.
There we go. Perfect. Thank you.
What if we do that? Okay. So right now, this is it's just what you're used to seeing with Octant. I'm currently looking at some pods, and specifically what I want to show today is this execute command, which was added. It's currently in a branch, but it will be added in an O.10. What this does is it is essentially the same as running what you would get with cube CTLExec. It allows you to just run either persisted or one-off commands in your against a container. So here you see I've ran a D message previously. We can resize this. I ran a D message previously, so it respects all terminal output. This is using an Xterm.js window, so it respects all character encodings and terminal formatting, but it also allows interaction. So I can run a command like top, and it will spin away. It supports resizing. So if you shrink or move this window, it'll properly adjust all of the margins and borders and display things differently. So I don't know if that'll come across in the demo, but I'm going to try it. I'm just going to like resize this window to make it smaller, and then I'll do ls again, and maybe you'll see that it set there. So it it wraps now instead of so it's wrapping them instead of showing them the long. I don't know if that came across, but if it does. So
yeah, looks good.
The up arrow stuff. So if your shell supports it, it'll work. Right now, you can see I'm sending the control sequence for up. Some terminals, when I open them, up arrows and like control R and like shell completion all work, and in some terminals they don't. That's just a known issue, and I'm not quite sure exactly how to fix that yet. But when you exit a terminal, it actually will save your buffer until you close it from within Octant. So as we get rid of that. So as you move around and you're doing things within Octant, if you executed a command on a container and you want to go back and look at it and reference it, you can do that. It doesn't it doesn't go away. So until you actually click the X or restart Octant, and then it clears all of these out. But that was a feature that we wanted to preserve the output. I know a lot of shells, when you exit them, they close and go away. But the nature of Octant is that you're in here looking for information and doing things. So this kind of lets you keep that information persisted, even if it's like a short-lived command, like a D message or something. You don't have to specify whether or not it's interactive. That just happens on the back end automatically. So if you, again, I'll just run that same one. So if you do run like a one-off command, it will it'll just exit and show you that it's exited, so it's a done process. We also have a view here where you can see your previous terminals. This is kind of like more of it's more for like cleanup or quickly navigating to a container where you've ran a terminal. So like you may have run a few. You can see none show up down here because I'm in the cluster overview. So I'm not actually sitting on a namespace. So this is more of just like a quick way to either clean up terminals or get to the container that has the terminal that you're looking for. So that is, that's pretty much it. I think I covered everything there. Any questions on that?
Any questions, comments on what Wayne showed here?
No, good. Okay.
Is that just doing like a kubectl_exec type thing?
Yeah, so it is the same function as kubectl_exec. It uses the remote command stream. There's a remote command library that's part of client Go, and there's a stream function of it, which is the same mechanism that kubectl_exec wraps.
Cool, thanks.
Yep. Well, I don't have anything else.
All right. Any questions, comments from the community members?
Not about that specifically, but other things.
Go nuts.
Yeah.
Now's the time. Looks great, guys. I'm glad to hear the progress. That I'm excited to see the web component stuff come, because that addresses actually a couple of the questions that we were having. When I say we're working with AT&T on the Airship user interface, and we've been basically using Octant as the base for that, and mostly writing a plugin and some other tooling around that. And so that's great to see. One of the other use cases that we have that we don't quite see supported yet, and we want to understand the direction, is that in the process of booting up Airship, we're going to be in a situation where, well, let me back up one. One of the things Airship does is basically brings up Kubernetes, and when you run Airship initially, there is no Kubernetes to run against. And in that situation, we'd still like to have a user interface, but it seems at this point that Octant is really tied to being able to requiring having an active connection before it'll do anything. Is there any envision or possibility that we could let Octant run and have some kind of, obviously most of the functionality would not work, but to be able to have some ability to use it without an active connection? That way we could at least run through some of our bootstrap scenarios and launch Kubernetes and then connect to it. So what do you think about that?
Yes. So we have some issues actually that I can link to here in the chat. But yeah, so we have two issues around this. One is to allow Octant to start without a kube config, and provide some mechanism to prompt the user or allow them to provide a path or upload a kube config. And then the other part of that is to ensure that when we do that, that we expose via the plugin API that same mechanism, so that plugins could somehow provide a kube config. What this does is essentially it allows a plugin to allows someone to start Octant, navigate to a plugin, and then have that plugin perform actions or steps to create some type of cluster. Say it's like spinning up a kind cluster, and then pass that kube config as a result back to Octant so that it can then proceed as normal.
And you're not the first one to ask this. There's multiple people that are using Cluster API to bootstrap clusters. Yep. So when the first cluster is not there, they're having difficulty. So that kind of ability to get Octant to be there first, allow your plugin to be the first interface that developers use, and to kind of execute whatever actions you need to start a cluster and provide as a kube config. So I think we can't promise, but this is going to be high up in our priority list for the next set of release.
Excellent. Yeah, because that's the same thing we're doing as well. Yeah, using the Cluster API to bring one up. So,
and if you guys want to come and help us develop some of these features, we're not going to say no. We're welcome. Yeah, if you guys want to come in and help us, whether that's testing or validation or even helping the design,
Yes, definitely. I'm glad to see that I guess that's another topic, but I'm glad to see you're having weekly meetings that'll help be able to integrate us external people into that process a little better. That's great.
Cool. I think that's all the topics we had for today, Jonas.
Yep, I think so too. So we'll close it out, and yeah, as Wayne said, we're going to move this into a weekly cadence. So we'll have more discussion topics and kind of status reports and things like that every week going forward. So starting on Wednesdays at 1 p.m. Eastern and 10 a.m. Pacific. I will be updating the invite that is being sent out through the Google Groups. If you haven't signed up there yet, please do. I'll share that in Slack as well and tweet it out, so people should hopefully see it. And with that, thank you all for joining today, and we'll see you next week.
All right, thanks.
Have a good one.